darling! Welcome back. Today we're going to be watching some more Tasting History with Max Miller. This is the devilish history of deviled eggs. I am a huge deviled eggs enjoyer. It's normally what I make when I'm like, you know, bringing something along. I can eat 500 of them in one sitting. They're so good. I really like my recipe for them. I think that mine's the best. But I'm very excited to learn a bit more about him and see what he's gonna put in his. I'm very excited. I hope you are as well. If you are new here, please do consider subscribing. Really help me out, and I would very much appreciate it. Thank you. Are you ready? Let's go.
Eggs are a weird food. When they're scrambled or fried, I can eat 2, maybe 3. But if you devil them, I can finish off an entire platter and still not be satisfied. Devilish indeed. So I'm curious if I'm going to have the same reaction to these deviled eggs from 15th century Germany.
Those are very yellow.
So thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video as we make medieval deviled eggs. This time on Tasting History.
Yay!
So before we get into deviled eggs, we need to answer the question, what makes a deviled egg deviled? Well, in 1912, alongside a recipe for deviled eggs in a cookbook called The Chafing Dish, there appeared this definition. Deviled dishes are those that are highly seasoned with condiments. They are not considered wholesome as a regular diet, but may be partaken of, on occasion, with advantage as well as pleasure.
What? Okay. Highly seasoned with condiments. Not considered wholesome as a regular diet. Okay. Huh. Wait, so that's like deviled food cake? What is it? Devil's food cake? Is it devil's or deviled? I think it's devil's. Devil's food cake? I assume that's kind of the same, or maybe not, actually. No, it's probably totally... Well, maybe the second part. Not considered wholesome of a regular diet, partaken on occasion, maybe. Maybe.
Advantage as well as pleasure. Quite the snack. Now, other definitions talk about deviled being specifically related to something being hot.
That's the devil's temperature.
Specifically when that heat comes from cayenne pepper, an ingredient surprisingly popular in 19th century cuisine. But today, deviled eggs don't usually tend to be that spicy, so I think that definition from 1912 is more fitting. And
I do put like the tiniest a bit of Tabasco in mine, but sometimes I don't. Like sometimes I'll put Tabasco in them, like literally like a couple dashes, couple drops. And then other times I'll put like relish. I have like a base recipe, and then I have like the variants. If I want some with like a little bit of hot sauce, or if I want some with a little bit of relish, different stuff like that.
it also works with these stuffed eggs from medieval Germany. If you wish to make halved eggs that are stuffed, take eggs and boil them hard. Slice down the middle, remove the yolks from the whites, grind them in a mortar. When they are mashed, mix with raw eggs. Add sage and costumary, pepper and saffron. And fill the whites with this. Then put them in butter and bake them well. Take vinegar and other eggs, make good sauce with this. Do add honey, pepper, and saffron. Salt to taste, and serve it forth. And the great thing about this recipe is that it's devilishly easy. As are the recipes from today's sponsor, HelloFresh. They even have an entire line of meals called Quick and Easy, and those are the ones that I usually gravitate toward because I like to live my life quick and easy. But with over 40 weekly meals, they have recipes to fit every lifestyle, including pescatarian, vegetarian, and family-friendly for those picky eaters, whether they be children or adults. No judgment. And besides having the most foolproof recipes ever, all of the ingredients arrive at your door pre-portioned, giving you one less excuse not to cook at home. One fewer excuse, one less excuse. I don't know, but the recipes are definitely easier than English grammar.
Amen.
Last night, I made the pork tenderloin with roasted carrots drizzled with a bulgogi sauce. It had that sweet and tangy mixture that I love from bulgogi, and I'll definitely be ordering it again. So to give HelloFresh a try, go to HelloFresh.com and use my code TASTINGHISTORY50 to get 50% off, plus your first box ships free. That's TASTINGHISTORY50 at HelloFresh.com. Now, let's make some deviled eggs from pre-Reformation Germany. So first you need to hard boil 6 eggs.
That's too expensive.
Bring a pot of water about an inch deep to a boil and gently add the eggs. Reduce the heat to a gentle boil and let them cook for about 13 minutes, then remove them and put them in ice water for another 15 minutes.
13 minutes? You boiled them for 13 minutes. That's excessive. I might do like 9 minutes on mine. I don't like a super overly hard because, like, okay, when you overcook hard-boiled eggs and you get like, I don't even know how to describe it. I guess it's the sulfur, like, ugh. But I do what he did, adding them to boiling water and then immediately into an ice bath. But I don't let them sit. I let them cool, like cool to the touch, and then I peel them. But that seems excessive. I might and probably will be proven wrong, but that seems way too long to be boiling them for.
And that's really the hardest part of the recipe, except for this next part, which is the peeling. Some are easy, and some are more difficult. And once you do peel them, just be careful because these suckers are slippery. One of them popped out of my hand and fell on the ground and kind of mashed, and so I couldn't use it anymore. So throughout the rest of this video, instead of 12 halves, you'll see 10. So once you have your 12 or 10 halves, remove the yolks and then mash them in a bowl. Then for the filling, you'll need 1 raw egg, a few leaves of sage, a few leaves of costumary or mint. Unless you're growing costumary in your garden, you'll probably have a hard time finding costumary, at least here in the US, so using mint is going to be the closest easy thing that you can do.
Mint? You've lost me a little bit. Low temp boil? Yeah, I think that's why they're not horrid. But mint? You've lost me, but you can win me back.
Also, kind of an interesting thing, costumary used to also be called Bible leaf, and that's because it was in the Bible. Literally.
Really?
They would actually dry the leaves and then use them as bookmarks for Bibles because the scent kept silverfish and book mites away. And silverfish are the most disgusting thing in the entire world, so I'm going to start growing costumary. A 1/4 teaspoon of pepper and a small pinch of saffron diffused in a tablespoon of water. So first,
maybe I just don't use saffron enough. I don't really care for saffron.
First add the raw egg to the hard-boiled egg yolks and mix until incorporated. Then add in the herbs, which should be minced, and the pepper and the saffron and water, and mix everything until it's nice and smooth. Then you're going to fill the eggs with this, and I have found that using a piping bag is the easiest way.
Agreed.
Now today, you'd usually fill them until they're kind of heaping with the filling, but since we are going to be frying these in butter, you can't really do that, so you gotta level it off. So pour a 1/4 cup of melted butter into a pan, and then set the eggs, filling side down, into the butter.
That just feels wrong. I feel dirty.
Now you can fry these on the stove, but they burn really easily, so I found that the easiest way is to set the pan in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 175 Celsius for about 5 minutes, then take the pan out, flip over the eggs very gently, and bake them for another 5 to 7 minutes or until the filling has become quite firm. And
did it even fucking do anything? Has it even... I guess... Wait, okay, hold on. Pause. Maybe you're just cooking the raw egg that you added. That's probably all you're doing. And it's probably not really meant to do anything besides that.
Very gently, and bake them for another 5 to 7 minutes or until the filling has become quite firm. And while they bake, you can whip up your sauce. For that, what you'll need is 2 tablespoons of white wine vinegar, 1 egg or 2 egg yolks. So I tried making it both ways, and it works both ways, but I am going to use just egg yolks because my uncooked egg white allergy is not fun.
Oh.
And that raises the question, why am I making deviled eggs? And to that, I do not currently have an answer. 1 tablespoon of honey, a large pinch of pepper, a large pinch of salt, and a pinch of saffron threads. So just add the vinegar to the egg yolk or egg, and then whisk, and then add in the honey, pepper, salt, and saffron threads, and whisk everything together. and then set that over a low heat for about 5 or 6 minutes. You want this to thicken up a little bit, but you don't want to scramble those eggs, so do it very, very slowly, just until it starts to thicken, and then you can take it off. And then while the eggs finish cooking, let's go ahead and take a look at how the blessed hard-boiled egg became so bedeviled. Ab ovo usque ad mala, literally, from the eggs to the apples. That was how the satirist Horace described an ancient Roman meal from beginning to end, just like we would today maybe say from soup to nuts. Not that we ever finish a meal with an entire course of nuts, so it should really be like from soup to cookies, but you get the idea. See, in ancient Rome, it was from eggs to apples because the feast ended with apples or other fresh fruit, but it started with eggs. And that is where the history of the deviled egg begins. In the ancient world's greatest surviving cookbook, De Re Coquinaria, attributed to the gourmand Apicius, the author includes several recipes for egg dishes meant to be served at the beginning of a meal. One is for a dish of boiled eggs served with a blend of honey, pepper, asafoetida, wine, and liquamen, or garum. And he doesn't actually say that these eggs should be stuffed with all of this. Rather, it's just the eggs kind of cooked and mashed up or chopped up, he doesn't really say, and then this is more of a sauce that's put on top. But it is a first step in the evolution of the deviled egg, though the next step doesn't take place for about 1,000 years. In 13th century Andalusia, which at the time referred to most of the Iberian Peninsula under Islamic rule, an anonymous cookbook was written that gives a recipe for stuffed eggs. It says to take hard-boiled eggs and then cut them in half using a thread, which one, is brilliant, and two, I bet is really satisfying, and I want to try that sometime. Then the yolks are mixed with cilantro, onion juice, pepper, and a sauce called muri, which is a fermented sauce typically made with barley flour. But while the egg is stuffed and that stuffing is spiced, if it were to show up at the church potluck, I don't think anyone would call it a deviled egg, because they would take the two halves and put them back together and then put like a toothpick through them to hold it together so it would just look like a hard-boiled egg. And that actually seems to be the norm throughout the Middle Ages as the Andalusian recipe spread across Europe. Italy seems to be the first place that these eggs really took off because they appear in pretty much every early Italian cookbook.
The Italians picked it up? Okay.
With the addition of some Italian flavors, namely cheese.
Listen, I love cheese. All right. I am all for extra exuberant amounts of cheese. I cannot stand like cheese in eggs. I don't want it in my deviled eggs. I don't even like it in my scrambled eggs. The only way that I can stand it is if it's in like a casserole where it's like eggs and hash browns and like ham and cheese. It's like all together. There's just something about, and I think it's just because I didn't grow up eating cheese in my eggs. Like that was never a thing until I like mistakenly ordered it at like an IHOP as like a preteen or so, and I tasted it. I was like, why do my eggs taste disgusting? And it was because I had told them to put cheese in it, because like the waitress was like, oh, do you want cheese in your eggs? And I was like, oh yeah, because I like cheese. It was just gross. It was just, I'm good. Please, I don't, that just, cheese in my deviled eggs just is no. And it's just bad. I personally, just no.
Latina's 15th century recipe has you take the cooked egg yolk and then mix it with good cheese, aged as well as fresh, and raisins. Likewise, add
What are we doing? What? No. See? You're putting fucking cheese and raisins? Oh my god, what the fuck? No.
parsley, marjoram, and mint, along with some spices.
I'm
Again, the
good.
halves of these eggs are then put back together, but then they
And
are
thrown away.
fried in butter similar to our recipe today. Then they have a sauce that's made with cinnamon and clove and ginger and verjuice, which is sour like our vinegar, but is made from unripened grapes. By the 17th century, people were really leaning into the presentation of these eggs, sometimes even taking egg whites and kind of crumbling them up and then dyeing them pink using the New World ingredient cochineal. The Spanish brought this from the New World back to Europe, and then they marketed it as a seed that could be ground up and used as a dye for clothes, or in this case, egg whites. But in reality, it is not a seed, but an insect that lives on the prickly pear cactus plant. And I'd say this is why people stopped using it, because it's an insect, but people didn't stop using it. In fact, it's still often used today in many modern products.
Also, quickly, talking about like dyeing the egg whites, I see so many cute ideas for Halloween themed deviled eggs, where like you hard boil the egg, you crack the shell a bit, and then you dye it. So when you peel it, it looks like a spider web and stuff. And those are super cute. Or like dyeing them green and then like putting a little bit of dye for the mixture that you put back in. Those are super, super cute. I've always wanted to try that, but I've never done it.
You can actually still use it today as a natural dye for Easter eggs.
Yay!
Though while we do dye the outside of eggs today, the idea of dyeing the inside seems to have never really caught on. But another presentation style from the period did, and that is to leave the eggs open, which is how most modern deviled eggs are made. But these eggs would not have been called deviled, because even when that term did start being applied to food in the 18th century, it wasn't applied to eggs, but rather a bunch of other dishes that were highly spiced. Though the very first written mention of the word is irritatingly vague in exactly what dish it's talking about. In the periodical The Lounger, published in Edinburgh in 1786, a writer is discussing his acquaintance who he considers to be a good bottle companion. That is, one who thinks none, talks little, and drinks a great deal.
Me? Are you talking about me?
In addition, he knows how to decant a bottle of wine, never interrupts a good story, and can make punch, brew negus, and season a devil. Now, punch and negus are both drinks, so it makes me wonder if devil isn't referring to a drink here, but it's definitely not referring to an egg. Nor was it an egg that Washington Irving refers to in 1819 when he said, "Another holds a curry, or a devil in utter abomination." Who knew the man who wrote The Legend of Sleepy Hollow hated curry? I find that disappointing. Now, I've spoken before on some of the pitfalls that I have during the research process. In fact, I did a big long rant about it in the video on Leonardo da Vinci last summer. Basically, a fact gets repeated so many times and by reputable sources that it becomes unquestioned, even though it turns out it was never a fact to begin with.
I thought he was gonna say the opposite way, and it'd be like it's repeated so much. It's like telephone, where it's repeated so much and it's changed. But yeah, something getting like spoken as a fact, and it just kind of turns, well, okay, quote unquote turns into one, but it never was one. Yeah.
Like the fact that many sources that I found claimed that the first mention of a specific deviled food appeared when James Boswell published a biography of the famous writer Samuel Johnson. These sources all claim that Boswell frequently refers to Johnson partaking of a dish of deviled bones for supper. But I have that biography, several editions of it, and nowhere does it mention deviled bones, let alone frequently. Even the Oxford English Dictionary has tried to find where in this work this exists, and they couldn't find it. But it seems like a really weird thing to make up, right? But it seems that a lot of stuff has actually been made up about deviled eggs, or actually deviled foods in general. The Underwood Company, who has been making deviled ham since 1868, used to claim that around 1868, Underwood's sons began experimenting with a new product created from ground ham blended with special seasonings. The process they dubbed deviling, for cooking and preparing the ham was new. And while deviled ham was new, the claim that they dubbed the process deviling is poppycock, hogwash, and patently false.
Yo, I have not heard poppycock in so long, let alone hogwash. Dude, bring back poppycock. It's such a fun word.
Also, can we go back a second to that part about deviled bones?
Yes,
What
please.
the heck are deviled bones?
I'm thinking like bone marrow. Maybe.
Well, it turns out that they're kind of like an early version of buffalo wings.
Really?
In her cookbook, Fanny Farmer had recipes for deviled almonds, deviled chestnuts, crabs, oysters, scallops, and deviled bones. And they are chicken drumsticks that are coated in flour and then fried and then topped with a sauce of cayenne pepper and chili sauce and Worcestershire, and they sound really good, if rather heartburn-inducing.
Dude, we used to call chicken wings bones? Yo, I'm gonna need like your biggest set of bones, my guy. That just sounds so much more cool. That's missed opportunities.
Now, deviled eggs do start to make appearances throughout the latter part of the 19th century, but they're not often stuffed like a modern deviled egg. Rather, they look more like the one from ancient Rome. But in 1877, in an Alabama newspaper,
Oh my god. Only $5 for an acre. A farm for $200. Oh. 5 to 20 per day at home. Oh my god. 77. Whoa, that's expensive. Whoa, pump the brakes. Whoa. Calm down. Sorry.
one from ancient Rome. But in 1877, in an Alabama newspaper, there is a recipe termed deviled eggs, and they are hard-boiled eggs that are sliced in half, then remove the yolks and rub to a smooth paste with a little melted butter, a bit each of cayenne and mustard, and a tablespoon of vinegar.
Okay.
Fill the hollow whites with this and send to the table upon a bed of chopped white cabbage. Another
Okay.
thing that it mentions is to cut off the bottom of the egg so that they don't wobble around, meaning that I guess the standard deviled egg tray just hadn't really caught on yet. But other than that, it seems that this is the beginning of deviled eggs as we know them, and this recipe was then published over and over in other newspapers around the US, and so that became the standard recipe. Over the
Nice.
years, it changed a little bit, throwing out butter and vinegar in favor of mayonnaise, and for the most part, cayenne was replaced with paprika. These
Yes.
were often considered picnic foods, especially in the
Yes.
South. But they made the leap to pass around hors d'oeuvre during the increase of the cocktail parties of Prohibition. Nothing like some egg and paprika to cleanse the palate between bathtub gin martinis. Now, deviled eggs had become so popular that as Prohibition wound down and the Great Depression ramped up, First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt featured them at a White House luncheon on March 21st, 1933. But as the menu was meant to demonstrate frugal Depression-era cooking, the egg yolks were simply mashed with some diced onion and vinegar before being put back into the egg, and then some thin tomato sauce was spread on top.
Tomato sauce?
This was served alongside mashed potatoes and whole wheat bread, and FDR, who took his lunch in his office, claimed it was good, though I'm thinking that was probably just a diplomatic answer so he didn't upset his wife.
Smart
Now, deviled
man.
eggs kind of remained a picnic or Easter Sunday food for quite some time, but more recently, you can go to a fancy restaurant and get a $20 deviled egg with caviar or candied prosciutto, which is
that's too
actually really
much.
quite delicious. I've even had some that take a cue from the medieval cooks, and the deviled egg is fried in butter, just like the 15th century German eggs that we're about to eat right now. And here we are, deviled eggs from medieval Germany. So despite my egg white allergy, I think that these have been cooked enough that it's okay, because for some reason when I eat them cooked, I'm fine, fully cooked. So let's give it a shot and hope I don't die. So the flavor there is definitely that saffron. It just really packs a punch. Very little goes a long way. There are other flavors there. I'm kind of getting the herbs and everything, but the saffron carries the day, and that's okay because I love saffron. But I do think that it's going to benefit from a bit of the sauce. So I'm going to take a bit of the sauce and put it on the egg. And
see, I don't think, because the center is now like solid, right? I don't think I would like that. Like I want them to be creamy. And also, another reason why I cook my eggs, I very hard boil my eggs for about 8 to 9 minutes. Normally they come out and they're slightly gooey, so that just helps as well, and them being very creamy, because like you're gonna put either, you know, mayonnaise, I put Miracle Whip, you're gonna put mustard in there, and then like all of your seasonings, and I just prefer when they're more gooey, personally.
And have another go. More saffron. So yeah, it's definitely still the saffron is the main dominant flavor, but with the sauce you get that kind of vinegar bite, which is very, very welcome to kind of break up the creaminess of the egg yolk, and then you get a sweetness from the honey. In fact, I might even add a little bit more honey at the end because it's really quite nice. There are some medieval recipes that just put sugar on top. I don't know that I want to do that, but the little bit of honey adds a sweetness, and that is really nice.
See, that's why sometimes I put relish in mine to get that vinegar and that bite, that tart. And I just really love pickles, so like I just personally really, really like it. I don't know. I'm so divided. I don't think I would care for the saffron like at all.
I want to do that, but the little bit of honey adds a sweetness, and that is really nice. That said, I actually still prefer a modern paprika deviled egg, though put some candied prosciutto on there and I am happy. So eat some deviled eggs, medieval, modern, or ancient Roman, and I will see you next time on Tasting History.
Thank you. Bye-bye. I don't know, I'm divided. Okay. All right. I'm not really gonna debate too much. I've said my piece. I like putting Miracle Whip, like a little bit of sweet, yada yada. If you prefer a different way of doing your deviled eggs, that works for you. I like to have a little bit of hot sauce or like a little bit of vinegar from some what is it called? Relish. There's different ways that you can do it. Honestly, I think we can all agree that the more the merrier. Deviled eggs are amazing. I will always make them. I will always eat far too many of them. And even if I don't like this version of them, they're still great. Please, please, please make sure that you check out the original video. It's going to be linked down below. If you like my video, make sure you like and subscribe so I can see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye! This is where I don't tell YouTube that I put Miracle Whip in my deviled eggs, right?